Hi there, lovely people in the world. If I am good enough, if I obey the rules to the letter, will they love me? Will they keep me safe? Will they protect me? The answer, I'm afraid, at least in my experience, the answer to that is a very firm no. I don't know how you feel. I'd like to hear, at some point or other. I am actually hearing from people what it's like. I don't think there's anybody out there who has obeyed the rules, been this good boy, girls often, mostly girls, for decades on end. We spend ourselves, we spend our guts and our hearts and our life force and our souls on being good according to other people's specs, according to the very limited level of specification that we get. Desperate often for more information on how to please tell me how to be good. It's been on my mind. It hasn't been actually recently on my mind this much because I've been having fun with other things. I tend to almost forget. I was actually going to forget about this whole terrible gaslighting nightmare. But we are in it together, and I'm in it with you. You're in it with me. And that makes a whole lot of difference. If I sit here and talk and say these things, I know there's going to be a couple of ladies, often, I don't know about males, going, yay! Tell it like it is. Preach, sister. This is my church. This is where I heal my hurts. In utter chaos, in terror, in annihilation. God, aren't we over this? No, we're never over this. There's little birds in my garden. I gave them bird feed, and I think I've 20 birds at the moment. None of those birds have our problems, do they? They're just stuffing their bellies, and it's cold outside, plus a couple of degrees. One of them's actually climbing my wall now. I don't know what that's called, a blue tit or a black-headed tit or some type of very popular, very common type bird. And there's sparrows. The rest of them are sparrows. It helps. Just saying this, just having said this, and just having... I'm not going to go into the details of why I'm suddenly in this mood. This is the mood that came to my doorstep in a way. And where all of a sudden the system, the patriarchal, I keep calling it patriarchal, even though we don't really do all that many patriarchs anymore nowadays. It's just that it's the handiest word I've been able to find so far to represent the system of that we're supposed to obey. The system that holds us in fear, that holds us in a state of subservience, that doubts our individual capacities. I can see now that a person who's saying something along those lines to me or to somebody I care about isn't even speaking necessarily on their own behalf. It's never their own voice speaking. It's the system, and the system is like this massive 100-tentacled hydra monster that is holding the world in its grasp. And many, many, many hundreds of thousands of people, I think, are ready for a change. I had a thought yesterday, when was it? In some type of context where I just came to the conclusion that certainly now, what with COVID and all the rest of it, all the scenarios we're going through, all the changes, it's like I'm noticing more and more the culture, Western civilized culture, I mean, is in a state of depression itself. And so each and every individual partaking in that culture in whatever shape or form, you, me, and everybody else, and our neighbours, wherever we are, many of us, not everybody, but I think most of my people are of the same well-fed, well-bred, glasses type, well-read, type of people. There's a streak, there's a whisper constantly going through our lives where it isn't necessarily our own. We are having to deal with it. We do have to deal with it. With a constant struggle. And I don't mean the visible COVID things. I don't mean the things you can actually see in terms of lockdown or having to rethink lots of things, logistics and things around your house, things in your life, things that used to be normal. Yesterday, I went on a client run with husband for the whole day. We were busy and it was cold. It was like around freezing, and I put on a lot of pullovers and make sure I was bundled up properly. And I've sat in the car for a bit too long, so I tend to, at some point just still get too cold, and I have to go shopping. Normally, in out of lockdown, outside lockdown type situations, and we don't have a full lockdown at this point in the Netherlands. It's partly lockdown in the sense that there's no coffee houses and restaurant and bars and all those places. Those are closed. I can still go shopping. So I did do that. I went and got lunch for us, and we had a pretty decent lunch because I went and got good stuff, because I know the qualities of, having some decent food in you that will, keep you alive properly. But normally you'd go and sit somewhere and have something hot for lunch. That's impossible. I bring my thermos. I have this big 1.5 litre thermos that saved our lives, like I don't know how many times already. Right now, it is a matter of bitter necessity having that with you. And one of the clients actually that we visited just forgot to give us a cup of tea, which she would have otherwise have done. She just forgot. It's not that there was something wrong or that we weren't being mates in some form or other. We're fine. But that suddenly that lack of that cup of tea appeared quite clearly, and it was a long day. And by the time we were ready to go home, I think it was 6:30 or so in the afternoon. It's been black pitch darkness for an hour and a half. It is depressing to not have a place halfway through the day where you can either go to have something hot to eat or to drink. And then if one client forgets to give us a cup of tea, and we forget to ask for it because it's busy, it's business. We're talking business here. We're not there for socializing or visiting or, asking how the kids are doing, really. All that is important. This is a client we've known for ages, really. So we're not worried about anything in her, concerning her or her, the place that she runs. It is so uncomfortable, and it's just one story, one little moment, among thousands, I think, of people at the moment who have this logistical thing, and it can be much worse than what we've gone through. I can turn on my heater with a remote, so from the town where I was at last, an hour before actually going through the front door here, I turned on my heater over the internet. Fabulous. How luxurious is that? That's one of the really positive points of being a Westerner. How lucky can you get? I don't think they've got that in Mongolia or places like that. So, yeah, I'm not complaining that much. It's just that you do have to rethink things, and otherwise your body is going to tell you at some point or other, hey, you forgot about me. And I'm extremely glad of my Tumo practice in particular recently. God, I have noticed, one thing I've noticed is what with Tumo on the one hand and drinking hot water on the other, my body temperature has actually gone up a little bit. So I don't get this whole theatre thing of being able to go outside and butt naked in the freezing cold, or do any, drying of the wet sheets on top of your body because your Tumo is that strong. I don't get that. But I've been doing this for a while now. And since the beginning of the year, basically 2020, I've been doing Tumo. And my body temperature must have gone up like maybe half a degree or so. I wouldn't be able to tell because I never really did any measuring, because I don't normally have fevers either, so I've no clue. I suppose my normal body temperature would have been 37 degrees and or a bit, something like that. So I'd have to measure to see. I'll get back to you. I'll see if I think of it, I will try it out, check it out, and get back to you with intel on my body temperature in case you care, I mean, but the plus side, I spend less money on my heater in my house nowadays. Even if I sit around here and just dress like this, it's my heater's at 18 degrees, which is more or less normal-ish during the daytime when you're moving around and carrying laundry and doing things, and more or less not sitting on your ass the whole time. In the evening, towards 5 o'clock, it will get colder outside. I will turn it up to 20. And we're saving heapo money like this. That's really good and excellent. And I can, spend it on decks and things. So no problem there. Internet shopping has been fun. We've actually managed to visit a museum yesterday and have a little visit of an exhibition of Alphonse Mucha. I bought these 3 tall, splendid representations of Sarah Bernard, whom it seems I share an ancestor with her. We have I'm fairly confident that we share an ancestor in the early 1800s. So it goes back a bit. It goes back 5 generations from Sarah Bernard and about 10 or so from me. So we're in different lines. She's in here and I'm down here. But back up into time, that's where Hermanus used to have his circus with his horses and things like that. Juggling and magic tricks and traveling around the country. He's only one of a whole set of ancestors of mine. And she has that ancestor as well. It's kind of cool. She's an actress who's been really famous in the early 20th century. So I've always been rather fond of Alphonse Mucha, and we decided to get the Alphonse Mucha tarot deck, the Tarot Mucha. And yes, I say Mucha because that's the way it's pronounced in France, and that's where I got to know most of this type of work. And these paintings, they're actually not paintings, they're lithographs, it turns out. And this was a lithography museum that we visited. It was awesome. So sorry to explode in your face with this whole gaslighting business. It was just very much on my mind, and I still get cramps in my belly thinking of it. I don't want to go into any details. I just want to be able to talk about this stuff where it is so easy to be silenced, to give up. I am not a trouble-seeking person. I do not have the strength to do battle. I don't know about you. Lots of people have more courage than me. I have courage. I have plenty of courage inside. But if someone threatens me, I'm just dying right there. And it's very easy to feel threatened if you've been terrorized before, earlier. It does not go away, ever. And the only thing that really helps is to see not the individual situation with a person and their momentary opinion of us. Just try to ignore the individual protestations going on and see instead the system that is being represented, not even by the person. They did not choose to represent the system. It just fell out of their mouth because they were worried because of what somebody might think. How often does that happen? Doesn't that just happen every day? 100 million times? Oh my God, what's my mum going to say? Oh my God, what's my mum's neighbour going to say? Who's always in my mum's face? Things like that. This is how we stifle each other. So anyway, I'm going to look at my sparrows a bit more. I think I'm going to leave it at this. Thank you for listening to my Sunday, Friday sermon. This is Aline. I'm signing off for now. I do have more crafting vloggies. They're coming tomorrow, I think. I'm just collecting my notes for them. And we'll see where we get from here. Thank you for watching, you guys. I love you. Love you to pieces. See you next time. Bye-bye.